Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Different by Design. I'm your host, Nick Treaster, and today we are going to be cleaning out the trunk of my 1964 Studebaker Commander 6-cylinder sedan. Now, it's been a while since I've cleaned this out, and I was thinking it would be a good project to do, mainly so that I could organize it and then be able to evaluate the car for a future project and observe what I got to work with, if I've got maybe a parts car or something that I could actually restore. I've actually owned this vehicle for several years now. It's moved across the country with me a couple times. I think I've documented that in a few videos. But I'm also wanting to make sure that I have everything organized for any future projects inside my garage. So come along as I clean up my car and also organize my garage. Should be a pretty satisfying project, and heck, might even be motivation for your own project. So enjoy. Alright, so one of my main issues with rebuilding this engine is just visualizing the parts. So I moved about, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago, and we put everything in totes when I moved. And so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to organize it all. And I was actually in the process of rebuilding the engine while we were moving. But then once I got to my destination, which I moved to Iowa, once I was there, I didn't have time to go through these totes. So honestly, it's been 2 years, so I'm not even sure what's in these totes to begin with.
So to be able to proceed with this project, I have to be able to visualize and understand where things are at and where I've stored them. So with a black tote like this, you can't really see inside or understand what's in there without opening it up. So to make that a little bit easier, I'm going to make some labels for these so that when they're on the shelf, I can know exactly what's in them. So I guess watch as I make these labels. So this tote is primarily filled with most of the components that were in the process of rebuilding when I left. So I'm going to take a few of these out. Very greasy, so this is going to be engine tote 1. So I think we want it to sit sideways like that. It's going to be facing this direction. So we'll do it kind of in landscape mode. Now I probably could have typed this up on my computer and done it, made it look a little more slick, but this is just going to be a quick and dirty. So I do have some stencils, which makes this pretty simple. I mean, I do want it to be able to convey exactly what's inside at a very quick glance. So on this list, we want to make sure that we have kind of a content list going on. That's where the dirty part comes in. So I think if I was doing this correctly, and I remember, I think that I put oil on some major assembly parts before we moved to make sure that moisture and rust didn't get in. But I guess we're about to find out. So valve train assembly. Yeah, it's very greasy. Just gonna rest that right there. That's actually an emblem, so that does not belong. But that's kind of cool. That actually, I think I might actually put that on my desk. That's more of an ornament than anything else. Yeah, so like I said, when I moved, it was kind of in haste and things got thrown in totes, and now we're just unpacking all this. The bolts. I mean, everything was with a very heavy coat of grease. Oh, looks like we have another starter in here. That's going to make it more heavy, so I want to make sure to take that out. Yeah, that's a giant collection of starters I now have. Rods. I'm not even going to open that one up. This came out of the junkyard car, the junkyard lark. Oh, there's more valve train from the junkyard car. So that's important. I don't want to lose that. There's the starter. That's out of the junkyard car. And hardware. Yeah, like you can see just how much gunk and grease was on the junkyard car's engine. When I disassembled it, there was a heavy amount of sludge in there. So some of that stuff got sidelined. These are gaskets, it looks like, and then a partial bracket for all that. I think that's when we tried to put the flathead engine in the car. Gear pump.
That's the hardware for the gear pump. Very important piece. Oil bath air cleaner. You know, I never got the oil bath air cleaner off of the junkyard car. I think it was already gone by the time I got there. Of course, this has been sitting underneath all that weight. So I now have three fans, which I believe these are a different shape. I think I'm gonna try and paint one of them. Clean one up, paint one, and then keep one original. Definitely fuel line. So this is the mount. I think I'm gonna put this in a separate box since we're still trying to figure out the cross member, and that would be a good thing to have in a different box. Looks like this is another valve train. So I guess I have 3 valve trains. Okay. Huh. So there's the engine that came out of my car, and then there was an engine that I disassembled in college, and then there was also the junkyard car. So there's really 3 engines that I've worked on, 3 Skybolt 6s that I've worked on. So, and I'm not even sure I set out in life to be working on Skybolt 6s. I'd probably rather work on the flathead engine, honestly, but I guess people are quick to get rid of those. Yeah, so this is the valve train out of the junkyard car. This one is much cleaner. So I think we want to start labeling some of these parts. So a lot of this stuff got loosely thrown into the Tote as well. Most of this stuff is parts from my original transmission rebuild and all the automatic transmission parts, and a few parts that I found in the rear trunk. Most of these there's a few parts in there that are worth saving and worth doing, but I've held on to most of these parts in case something were to happen and I choose to go back to an automatic transmission. So these are O-rings that go in this kit here. These are 2 or 3 bits that will be combined together. I got about halfway through the transmission rebuild last time, and I blew apart some of the snap rings. So unfortunately they wouldn't just give me the snap rings, I had to order the entire kit again. And then once I did that, everything was all right. There was a set of drum brake shoes in the car already, and I believe these are the good ones that I had a friend who knew a person that had a warehouse full of old brake parts, and apparently the really high quality drum brake pads are no longer truly available. So I was able to actually get some parts from this guy who had a connection. So those are in that bag. But there was also some in there. I've actually never pulled apart the brake assemblies to see what condition they are in. Okay, so off camera I did a few things, and I was able to
get this shelf organized. So we've now got the engine 1 tote that I showed earlier, and I've got my 2 flywheels and 2 clutches. I didn't even know I had 2 flywheels and 2 clutches. I think we've actually got 3 somewhere. So yeah, we've got 3. One still has the torque converter on it. I think I showed that earlier, pulling out of the car. Over here I've got my bell housing that I think I'm going to use. And then down here I've got generator, 3 starters, and then 2 cylinder heads for the Skybolt 6 and my other engine tote. So all this is now pretty much completely organized. So I'm feeling pretty accomplished after just finishing this one up. So probably gonna continue to add a few things to both of these engine totes as we go along. I found a few things, but it's much better organized than what we started out with. So all right, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop organizing for tonight. It's getting kind of late, so I think I'm gonna try and tackle more of this in the morning tomorrow. But I'd say day 1, very successful. Still a massive chaotic mess. Looks like a shipbreaking yard in here. But I think we've got a pretty good amount of the parts organized. So if you come over here, actually, it seems like we've got this much better labeled over here. And I'd say this shelf is pretty much complete. So off camera I did organize this one. There was quite a bit of hardware in there. So that's finished. Still got a ways to go, obviously. But I'd say this thing is making pretty good progress. Tomorrow I'm going to try and finish all this up and then also work on the car as well. So feeling moderately accomplished. I mean, I probably spent maybe 3 hours on this in total today, so a little more than expected. I thought I would probably have this done in 3 hours, but it's looking like it's going to be more of a 5 or 6 hour project. So till next time, sayonara. All right, day 2, part 1. All right, so day 2, back at it again. So we'll continue the organization process and getting all this cleaned up. So let's get after it. All right, so I think we've made some absolutely major progress today. So I think I'm about 75% there. Still have a little bit of ways to go. But as you can see, I was able to get the engine stands and transmissions all kind of grouped together in a pretty small footprint, and then organize all my tools on my workbench to be able to get that optimized so that I can start working on a few projects. And I was able to get these totes labeled. These are the automatic transmission parts in here, and I've got spare parts down there. I'd still like to find a better home for these, as I want to be able to access this bottom tote. This one right here, I don't really have to access it, so that can actually stay there. But there might be some opportunities to move a few more things around, try and get some space made for that. Otherwise, this shelf is pretty much, I'd say, complete. So I'd say this is our Studebaker rebuild project shelf. Got most of my major large engine components on the bottom there, and then both of my cylinder heads, and then all the components up here. So I'm feeling pretty accomplished about that one. That's one we did yesterday. So, I mean, there's still a lot of parts and pieces left around that have homes, but I just need to get them in there. So, but for the most part, I mean, it's looking like 210 times better than what it did yesterday. So, I do feel like I've been able to accomplish getting this organized, at least to be able to move the project forward. These two totes over here, completely empty. So I was able to consolidate everything into a matter of only a couple of totes, which is that feels pretty good. So those totes are completely empty. I don't have anything in them. This is kind of my scrap pile / parts that I'm not going to use. I don't think I'm going to scrap these parts immediately. And then there's some parts in that pile that are not going to be scrapped altogether. So down here, I've actually got a new old stock torque converter. Really cool. I actually ordered that when I was working on the car originally, but I didn't end up using that torque converter. I didn't change it out. So it's actually still sitting in its box. I ordered it from Studebaker International. The box itself is actually really pretty neat. So if all else fails, I've got a really neat crate that I could maybe use for some type of neat future project or something like that. But I would like to probably try and find a home for that new old stock torque converter if I can. This is the steering box from the junkyard car. I was pulling it out of the car in the junkyard, and I was having trouble getting the steering column out. So I actually ended up just taking the entire steering box and steering assembly, because I was having trouble trying to get it to come apart in the junkyard. So you can actually see that it was cut with a hacksaw right there, which is kind of crude. But I was able to get it out, and then it came home with me. I don't actually need it. And it's, it's got some cut parts and everything like that, but that might be scrap. And then I've actually got the steering column out of this car when it was an automatic. That was sitting and laying in the trunk there. So that's probably gonna hang out for a little bit. I don't know. If I could find a new home for it, I probably would. But there's probably plenty of parts cars out there that do have a steering column in it. And I don't think that a whole lot of people are swapping these over to automatic transmissions. So I don't really see a whole lot of demand for that part, but I'm going to hang on to it just in case I'm able to pawn it off on somebody else at some point. And then I've got Dipstick Tube. That's obviously going back on the engine. That's just too long to fit in any of my totes that I have. So I'm actually going to find a place for it. And then I've also got this this jack. This was I believe this was the factory jack, and it's considered a bumper jack. These are Widowmakers. So to keep the car original, I am going to put that back in. But I would not trust that if I was on the side of the road. So at some point, if this car ever gets back on the road, I will go out and buy a proper jack. So I've got some expendable tools in the rear if we do break down on the side of the road, which pretty much inevitable. So, and then over here we've got the bell housing for the automatic transmission. This is something I'm gonna probably hold on for a little bit. I don't have any plans to. I think that somebody might be able to use this, I don't know. But it's gonna just hang out for a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of the remaining items, but I would say that we made major progress as far as getting everything consolidated and taking an inventory and reorganizing everything and really just making it more accessible and kind of getting a list of everything that I already have. This battery charger over here, great example of something that I found. So this was sitting inside of one of my totes. I had a large tote that was filled with just miscellaneous stuff. None of it correlated with each other. But I will tell you, about 2 years ago, I had a dead battery, and I thought that I had bought a battery charger, but couldn't find it. Turns out it was sitting in this tote buried inside of my previous garage, and I had actually considered buying a battery charger, which would have been totally unnecessary because I already own one. So that's just a great example of why this project kind of needed to happen. It's unfortunately taken a lot more time than I would have expected, but it has definitely been necessary to be able to get everything in line to be able to try and move forward with this project. So I'm going to finish up getting the remaining items, and then I'm actually going to start trying to work on the car after this. All right, so this is pretty much going to be the final product of day 2. So I've got most of everything kind of wrapped up for the day, and I'm thinking it's looking a lot better. Still have some steps to go as far as getting it totally 100% complete, but this is going to be our stopping place. So thanks for joining me. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. See you next time.